You're listening to The Larry King Show, live from Washington, D.C. Here again, Larry King.
Our guest is Dr. Charles Crenshaw. He has impeccable credentials, and he was there. Okay, you run into trauma room 1, and
I'm immediately struck with the president lying there on the cart, the gurney. He was larger than I had thought. He was massive. As a matter of fact, he completely filled the cart. I noticed, of course, to the left was Jacqueline Kennedy. She was standing there straight as an arrow. But you could see the blood all up and down the right side of her dress, a famous pink dress. And so I ran immediately to the president.
Was any doctor there, or were you the first?
No. The first was Dr. Carrico and then Dr. Perry. McClellan and I were about the third or fourth people in. And then Queen, Dr. Baxter, and all the group that was there. So we ran almost to our appointed stations because we were trained in a team system on how to resuscitate trauma. I ran to, to his right knee. I was stationed there doing a cut down on his right saphenous ankle, or right saphenous vein on his ankle. But first I looked over the body and saw this small anterior entrance wound. It was about 3 to 5 millimeters in the neck below the Adam's apple. It was about the size of your little finger.
Definite to an entrance wound.
Definitely rounded, perfect for a high velocity.
Not an exit?
No, not to me. It was perfect.
Did you know then he was dead?
Oh, yeah. With that injury, the severity of the head injury, plus this, there was no way he could survive.
But you still did things, right?
Oh, yeah. Here we trained all our lives to save somebody, and we had the most prominent person in the world, and there we could not let it go without trying. So we, of course, did our cut-downs. The endotracheal tube that had put down for breathing was not working efficiently, so Dr. Perry decided to do the tracheostomy. This was being performed with Dr. Baxter and Dr. McClellan helping him. And so the endotracheal tube was removed, the tracheostomy was put in, and of course he was put on 100% oxygen. It worked for a while, but then they were worried, and of course all of us were worried, that the entrance wound, the bullet, had gone into the lung and caused a pneumothorax. So because of this, anterior chest tubes were placed in both sides to expand the lungs. So at the end of that period, he had the tracheostomy, 2 anterior chest wounds, and we had done 3 cut-downs to infuse fluid and O-negative blood. I did the cut-down on the right leg.
Who finally said, stop?
Dr. Kemp Clark, the neurosurgeon, came in, and of course he was looking at the wound, and Dr. Baxter said, Kemp, tell us thing. He said, my God, half his brain is gone. And so, actually, a torpedo, a small little machine back in that era that ran an EKG, was placed on with some needles onto the patient or to the president, and it became a straight line. So, at that time, we knew he was dead.
And then what did you do? What happened to... Well, it would lead eventually to this book.
At that time, actually, just pulled up the sheet and waited because of Mrs. Kennedy's request that a priest be brought for the last rites. And most of our group were not of the Catholic faith, and so it was explained to us by our chief of cardiology there how important this was. So we waited, and the priest came into the room, and Mrs. Kennedy followed him, and Admiral Berkeley, his physician. And the sheet was a little short, and his toes were exposed, and she stopped by the right great toe, or big toe, and held his foot and kissed the great toe. And then she walked to the head of the cart and held his right hand while the priest intoned the last rites. There, at the end, she took her wedding ring off and put it on the small finger of his right hand.
You saw all this?
Mm-hmm. His knuckle was too big. She could not get it completely on. And only later, when she came in, before we put it in the coffin, one of the orderlies helped with putting some cream there to get the ring completely on. as she gave her last sentiments to the president. So there we were. We'd had done the best possible job we could, but we'd lost the president of the United States.
Did you expect there to be the normal medical examiner, Dallas medical examiner, autopsy,
Absolutely.
murder one, etc., which should have occurred?
Yes.
Did not occur.
As a matter of fact, I stayed in the room because everybody almost wanted to bail out, particularly after the last rites and that scene. And we were getting him ready for the autopsy. That is a Texas law. It was unquestioned that he should have the autopsy, and it should be done there.
It was not a federal crime then to kill a president. That was Murder 1 Dallas.
Murder 1 Dallas, Texas law.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, I did not know until off and on, all the discussions started with the Secret Service either being ordered or wanting immediately to take him back. I'm told, and I do believe my co-writer there knows that Lyndon Johnson said that he would not leave Dallas without the president.
We'll pick that up in a minute. Our guest is Dr. Charles Crenshaw. The book in paperback with 8 pages of gripping photographs, and they are incredible. JFK, Conspiracy of Shame. By the way, you can order this book directly. 1-800... what did I say? Shame. Oh, it's Conspiracy of Silence. I said shame. You can order it at 1-800-831-8900. 1-800-831-8900. You can charge it any major credit card. We'll be back after these messages.